I'll start a short video to let you guys know about what's happening. What's happening really exciting is I got 10 new fish tanks, which I'm just going to quickly talk about. I need to get my fish room organized so that I can fit those new 10 fish tanks in. So some of you who might have watched some of my other videos, I figured out a few little spaces that I can actually add some new fish tanks, and I had ordered them. They got made, they arrived, and then I went and picked them up. So 10 new fish tanks ready to go in the fish room. And some people who've been in my fish room before mentioned, where am I going to put those, because they do know that I already have fitted as many tanks as seemingly you can fit into this space, but I managed to find this space that I can actually have 10 new ones. So it's very exciting for me. I needed 10 more tanks. Well, you never need more tanks, but I like to keep more fish and breed more of them. So I thought having 10 more tanks would give me a bit more flexibility in the fish I'm breeding, but also raising smaller batches of fish as well. So the tank size, which I'm going to share with you in a bit, is sort of relatively small because I had a very narrow shelf space on my racks. So the shelf space that I had was actually only 14 centimeters wide, which is something inches. I don't know how many inches that is. And I had these little drawers that I had in my racks, and I thought I had a bunch of them on the sides on a bunch of different tanks, and I thought, hang on a second, if I get a tank built that's only that wide and this long, I can actually have those tanks, on my racks as well. So it will increase the number of tanks I have to 149, because 139 is obviously not enough. So that's shelving or storage little thing for this racking unit is 60 centimeters or 2 foot. So thank you, Thomas. So that's 6-inch wide. Thomas just mentioned, and it's sort of 2 foot deep. So it's going to be basically pretty much this size. And if I move to the side, you can actually see them there. So all 10 of them have arrived. And just to give you guys an idea, like you can see where the tanks are, there is one of that shelving, not that storage drawer thing here. So I'm just pulling that in and out. So basically one of the tanks are going to go there. I tried to arrange the camera so that you guys can actually see. There's one of them actually here. I already sort of started putting that in. It is not an insignificant volume, but it is not a very big tank. But most of the tanks in my fish room, apart from the ones at the back there, which are 3 foot, are all smaller anyway. So the tanks, if I actually lift one up, so it's just like that black storage thing that I just showed you. It's sort of really narrow, 2 foot long, and it's exact height of my other tanks on the shelf. So I figured I could fit 10 of these in the fish room. It basically, the main aim, like I said, it wasn't really to add more volume to the fish room. It's just that to give me more options. As you guys know, I breed a bit of everything, but I also breed a lot of killies. Being able to put a pair in there or have a small batch of fry growing in there is going to be very exciting. So I've been looking forward to those getting made. I got the fish tanks made with 2 small lids. Hopefully you can see them, so that it gives me options in sort of all the air hoses and things going in, and the sort of filtration I would like to have. And I'm thinking about using those Metam filters at the back. Again, it's easier to use this because I won't accidentally knock it and break it. So the tank is actually this size. It's sort of like double the height, obviously. So I'm planning to have at the back of the tank, sort of back here, the foam, and with the air-driven sort of water cycling through. And I'm thinking about making that as the filtration. So it's very exciting. From the time I ordered the fish tanks for them to be made and shipped and to arrive took a while, which I assumed is going to be plenty of time for me to get the fish room ready. And in my usual style, fish room is not ready. In fact, I just came out of my what I call maintenance period of my fish room, where because I do a bunch of different things a couple of times a year, I go through weeks, sometimes a month or two lengths, where I call that my maintenance period. I don't really pick any eggs. I occasionally scoop fry out when I see them. I feed fish a lot more sparingly because my water changing, sometimes I can sort of skip a couple of days or something. So during that maintenance period, I breed a lot less fish. I mean, fish being fish, they all still breed, but when you don't check MOPS, obviously you don't get to raise new batches. So anyway, so that period is just about over. That's kind of why I haven't been doing any videos lately. So I'm back in the fish room. So now going to be the first priority to put those tanks into their space. Like this one, it's sort of hanging out a little bit so that you guys can actually see it. But quite a handy sized tank. So a few other things that I need to do. This 3-foot tank here, the light got busted, so I need to replace that light. I always have spare everything, so I need to, while I'm talking to you, I need to go and get one of my spare lights down so I can install that today. I'm not going to bore you and watch you put a new fish tank, but I do buy my lights and stuff in bulk when I can, so that when something goes out I can easily replace it. So other things that are happening that I might have not talked about in videos, I have a few other localities and species of blue ice, so that is looking really good. I am going to start to breed more of them soon, now that I'm getting out of my maintenance period sort of thing. So yeah, so I'm just checking if anyone is asking any questions, because I don't want to be rude because I can't see any questions there. So I just want to make sure that if anybody is, here we are. So yeah, Thomas, new tanks are always exciting. So I'm super excited, really. It's going to give me a lot more options. What else is happening in my fish room? As you guys can see, my fish room is a little bit of a jungle. So I grow quite a few sort of tropical plants that do like the extra humidity, but what I'm now finding is is my usual style, a little bit overdid the plants in the past, so I need to reduce the number of plants in the fish room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce a bunch of the plants, like trim all my pothos and etc. So like some of the sort of winey plants, that go everywhere, I'm going to trim them, sort of reduce them, because almost everywhere you look, they're sort of hanging around in places. This one is supposed to be somewhere else, not dangling. I'm going to take most of those out, and I'm just going to start keeping mostly African violets, because I'm finding they do really well in the fish room, and because I'm more interested in foliage than compared to flowers, I'm actually interested in African violets that have variegated leaves, but I'm also interested in these African violet. What is it? African violets related to African violet, I guess Nereid. I'll just put the light on so you guys can actually see it better. It sort of has these really shiny leaves. So I like these. These are called Epicea. This one is Epicea Western Red. I like labeling everything. I don't know if that was the other way around. And Thomas, feel free to ask the question, because I'm just rambling, because I just started doing the live stream without having any plan. So, hello. So, yeah. And a bunch of cories are growing. I have a bunch of cories that spawned a while back that I'm raising. I need to put them all in the same tanks. And yeah, so the tanks which you can't see, I got 24 tanks behind the camera. What I'm going to be doing with those is the plan is going to allocate 3 tanks per species of killifish, because I haven't bred some of my killies for a while. I need to start doing that. So normally what I used to do is I try to spawn them as a group. So in the group, I don't know which female spawning which male. It sort of helps with the keeping the genetic diversity in a way. But this way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1 or 2 fry in those tanks, females in those tanks, and then I'm going to put males in, and then take those males out, condition the females a little bit more, put some different males in, so that from 3 or 6 females, haven't decided, it might change depending on the species, I'm going to have them spawn with multiple different males, so that's going to be the more controlled version of breeding and adding to the genetic diversity. Yeah, I did see that. I'm going to make a Urukumayu. Well, I think the Corridora Dine is sort of like both in a fluid state, but also has more certainty than before. So in terms of, I think the average fish keeper's nomenclature point of view, calling the fish whatever, it's, I'm getting my tongue twisted when trying to remember, oh, that's now this Brochus genus or Gastrodermis or whatever. Yeah, having the 8th genera is interesting. So I printed that paper, but I haven't read it. I'm just doing a video, Johnny. Yeah, that's why I'm talking. So yeah. So I haven't read that paper. So what do you think, Thomas? So anyway, so yeah. And the new fish tanks are going to go in, and I got this one. Obviously, these all need to come out and then go somewhere else. Yeah. And in the kitchen, I think, or in her room. Check her room.
I have.
Yeah, I don't know. Check with Alexander.
No, he doesn't know either.
Start walking around. She's not in here.
I have walked around.
Walked around a bit more. Yeah? Okay. That's my nephew looking for my wife. So apart from that, what's happening? A bunch of bristlenose is always breeding. Guppies and endlers are always breeding. My Aspidoras spilotus basically spawn 2 to 3 times a week. I don't really pick the eggs at the moment because with the spilotus, I think I have them like in 6 different places at the moment. Fry and young juveniles and another group there. So I haven't decided how many I need. So I haven't been picking their eggs. I see them, but I go, and because I was in that maintenance period. Hi, Brooke, welcome. So yeah, I'm just excitedly talking about the new fish tanks that I got. So the other thing that I've done, completed my shoe boxes now all have auto water changes. So that has been a really good thing for me. So by turning the taps on and off, I'm able to change water. You guys probably have seen, because I do things in bulk. So this is my bulk spawning mops. I got a ton of them here. So I always like to have multiples of everything in the fish room. So when I have an idea to breed something, basically when I have an idea to breed something, I don't need to organize myself for a number of days. I just have everything on hand. So the other thing that I'm hoping that I'll be able to do, because I actually haven't checked, and I'm going to check with you guys here, is when I'm breeding live bearers, I do, this is my funny shirt, but I think it's the other way around. So name these triangles Bob, Sam, and Kevin. so, so I have these little baskets that I saw a guppy breeder use to save some fry, especially for albino fry and stuff. But I actually use these for forest half-beaks, which are a live bearer, and I actually wanted to see if this fits in the tank, and it just doesn't do. Oh well, so I'm not going to breed live bearers in these tanks. So we established that. So it's going to be Achilles, the rainbows I breed, blue eyes, probably I'll breed a bunch of the different Danios I have, CPDs and the emeralds and the Negro fasciatus. So yeah, I'm Thomas. I'm really looking forward to reading that paper. I actually sometimes do nighttime reading of lie in bed with a bunch of pillows, and I sort of get a scientific paper and just read that, and then I read the same paragraph 5 times sometimes to understand. So another genus is quite interesting, and it's sort of like, for those of you who might be reading Thomas's messages, the fish in question, they're not really, but they're sort of like peppered cory like markings. So that is the most fish that people would be most familiar with. So there are a bunch of new fish that they discovered, and they gave them a new genus name because of certain characteristic those cories had. So should I do something weird and check a cory mop and see if I have eggs? So this is Corridorus, not Corridorus, it's Hoplysoma David Sansi mop I just pulled out. I'm looking through, and because I'm just coming out of my maintenance period, I'm not really expecting them to have spawned, and there's no eggs that I can see, but I can show you my expert growing of moss on the cork, because I don't really disturb the mop too much, and when I pick it up, I don't pick it up from the cork because I saw the moss growing there, so I let it grow there. So things happen in the fish room. Anyways, I didn't start doing the live stream to just jabber on. Since I last did a video, I probably got 3 new species of killies, or 3 new locations of killies. I think I got 2 different localities, or maybe they're the same because I haven't compared them yet, of blocky, which is the giant gold panchax, Aplocalyus lineatus, something related to that Aplocalyus blocki, and I also have Aplocalyus parvus. One came from India, one came from Sri Lanka. So that was very exciting when they became available in one of the wholesalers as wild caught fish. So I had to get them. I haven't really got any cories lately because I'm sort of now thinking I should breed everything I have and then look at something to get. But obviously with cories, when I see them available, I do get them. Oh, I did get a new cory. I got some cories that were advertised as red laser, thinking they might be that, but they turned up and they look like orange laser to me, which I breed a ton of anyway. CW133 are going great. I got 3 batches of young growing. The adults are going really well as well. I was a bit not happy that I was going through my maintenance period and they weren't going to breed as much. So yeah, so sometimes, when life gets busy and when I go into that maintenance period, it's a bit unfortunate because there are a bunch of fish I always like to breed, and then I just go, okay, I won't breed them until after that period. But the exciting thing then happens is, just like now, I'm getting into my active period in the fish room, so I'm going to be spending more and more time in the fish room, and then very soon everything will start to breed because I start checking mops and isolate fish and then put them back together and things like that. I am trying to breed, for those people watching that are interested in cories, Hoplysoma CW051. My group is doing really, really well. For those that might not be too familiar with cories, it's the Corydoras that's sold as the new panda. It's sort of a light colored fish with a giant saddle on the back. I have a group that's doing really, really well. For a short little while, I thought they were going to breed, and they didn't. And then I went into my maintenance period, so I don't know what is happening now. The thing that I'm also doing last few months, I get a delivery of live blackworms every month. So I kind of like did a subscription like thing without me telling them. Every month they do send a box of live blackworms to me, and that sort of helps really, really well, because live blackworms is a really good source of food if you can find it, but dry foods are something that I use a lot in the fish room. So yeah, so that's kind of what's happening in the fish room. Yeah, the maintenance side of it, I try to automate as much as possible, and it is kind of automated in that to drain tanks, I turn taps. To fill them up, I turn taps again. I don't use pumps for the water movement, so my water reservoirs, which you can kind of see, the ones up here, sort of a little bit more, these ones, because that's where my aged water is. When I turn the taps on to refill tanks with gravity, they sort of fill the tanks below them, and then those tanks are actually connected to a tap on the wall. I fill those up, and because of the way I do water changes, I don't fully drain my reservoir tanks. Quite often I only use 1/3 to half the water in the water reservoir. So when I refill them, it's kind of like doing a water change on my water reservoir tanks. So it helps with water aging, and because I've been using those water reservoir tanks that way for about 10 years, I'm pretty sure they're well and truly cycled, even though there's no obviously filters running in them, but they would be the nitrifying bacteria all on the sides of the tank. Yeah. Yeah, so if you guys have those books that Thomas is mentioning, corridors is to me like Pokemon. I like to collect them all, but I only have 149 fish tanks, poor me. So I can't keep them all. But the reason why I have 149 tanks, for those of you who might have not watched my videos, is I like to have the flexibility. So when I choose to breed one species or a number of species, and I have a bunch of fry growing, I always like to have at hand tanks that I can grow them to size. So what happens is, depending on what's happening in the fish room, not all 149 tanks end up having fish in them, but all 149 tanks end up having filters running in them. Oh well, 139, because of the 10 new tanks I haven't put them in yet, and those that might have just recently joined, these are the new tanks I got. They're sort of relatively narrow, 6 inches, Thomas told me, and 2 foot long. So it's 140 millimeters by 600 millimeters long, and it's 280 millimeters tall, and it's made from 5mm glass. I'm really happy with the build of them. I unpacked one and put on the shelf here, and so that's kind of, I'm really happy with how it's going to work. So now I have to move some tanks around so I can put those in and then put their filters, because I'm going to put them on this side, which you can't see. Let's say it's on this side of the rack, because on that rack there, which you can't see, if I put them at the very end, I won't be able to see the tanks unless I just walk all the way against the wall and look through. So what I'm going to do is, the normal standard size tanks, I'm going to push them closer towards the wall, and I'm going to put that narrow tank on the edge so that it's easily visible. And because these 10 tanks, I'm planning on mostly using them to breed fish in, either to have fish spawn on mobs, spawn on grids where the eggs will fall into that tank, and then I'll use that tank to raise that batch of fry, or I will actually put a batch of fry into that put batch of fry into that size tank and then grow them. So it's sort of quite good. You guys should stop talking about cories. You're going to make me want to go and get some more, or sort of try to breed all my cories again. So I didn't do a video on it, but my Brockus splendens bred. So what happened is, a friend of mine who has a giant 8-foot tank was changing what he was keeping in those, and he had 3 Brockus splendens. I think it's sold as emerald cory in some places, and he asked whether I would like them. He gave me the trio. Within 3 days I had eggs, so now I have some bunch of fry, because I got them to spawn a bunch of times. in 3 different containers and tanks. So that's been happening. So anyway, so this was a very quick video because I got excited about my new tanks. Oh, I wasn't going to, but I should pull this tank out so I can actually show you. Because I wanted to have the tank, the lids hang long ways, and because I wanted the lid to be in 2 pieces, they built the fish tank with this sort of a, this has a name, the way the edges are made for the lids. I really like that. It gives me a lot of flexibility in terms of how I use the lids, and I can push the lid tiny little bit back from the front and be able to feed the fish, check, pull them apart, and things like that. Anyway, so I got 10 of them. Somehow I need to find the time, along with my usual water changes and feeding fish and checking mops and stuff. I need to, they are custom, so they basically made it to exact my specifications, and they cost me something which I won't share because, you know, I paid for it already, so we won't remember what's happening. A mate of mine who owns a aquarium store here in Canberra got them made for me, so he did look after me, so it was good. And yeah, so I look at any money I spend on the fish room as a investment. So these tanks I got made, I'll probably use for years and years and years until I might crack one. But hopefully I won't crack them, because none of my tanks that's been in this fish room for close to 11-12 years now have cracked, because I pay attention to what I do with my elbows and stuff, and that's kind of what I wanted to do, have the tanks far apart. They're not too far apart, but they're far apart enough that, you know, when I'm doing things, I'm not bumping things. So my main issue is because I am easily distracted, because I would be checking for, well, okay, I just distracted myself. This is my Pracox tanks, and I just looked at the back and there's a whole heap of fry, and this is me coming out of my maintenance period. I already had collected some Pracox fry because a couple of people in my local aquarium society asked for them, so I thought I should breed another batch, but I'm just looking here, there's like about 30 fry at the back there. So I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 adults in that tank, and 2 L333 L number catfish, Loricaridae, I think they are. And so I'm going to now breed fish by catching fry. Breeding fish is very hard, people. And so, and I have about 10, 15. I don't know how can I show you the fry. I don't know, is that going to work? Fry. Oh yeah, you can see it. Maybe you can see it, maybe you... Yeah, so that's Pracox fry. You know, when you have a ton of tanks and a ton of fish, and you do feed them and you do change their water, fish actually breed. So I don't really, like, I don't know. I might be a fish breeder, but I don't think I am breeding the fish. What I'm doing is I'm looking after the fish well, and then presenting them the conditions that they, if they're happy that they can breed, and they do breed, and then I basically just get the fry. And so that's how you breed Pracox rainbow fish, basically. You scoop them from the surface, or that's how I do them. because I feed the adults well and they leave the little fry alone. Yeah, so and the hardest thing about fish breeding is actually raising, like hatching the fish in first instance, just keeping fungus and stuff away, and then hatching the fry, getting the fry to a good size, and then once they, depending on the species, a certain size, it's a bit easier from there. So for me, that's the hardest part of breeding fish. Getting them to spawn is you look after them well and give them the right conditions. They do spawn. One of the advantages I have in a fish room like this with 149 tanks now, it was 139 tanks, now I have 10 more. It allows me to keep fish separate, so when something breeds, there isn't anything else in the tank that would eat the fry or eat the eggs or whatever. So yeah, so that gives me a ton of flexibility, and then I use all these shoe boxes to raise small batches of fry, and then that's 149 plus I think 22 shoe boxes I'm running at the moment, and I have another 20 shoe boxes that I can set up if there's ever a need, and medacas in the ponds outside. So yeah, so I do a lot with my fish. So anyway, so again, for those of you who might have just recently joined, I just got out of my maintenance period of my fish keeping because I had a whole heap of other things happening in my other parts of my life, and now that's sort of quietened down. So I'm now going to get into my active period in the fish room where I breed a lot more fish, and the 10 new fish tanks came, so that's really, really exciting. I feed the rainbows decapsulated brine shrimp, but I also do feed this Ebo, I think it's going to be the other way around, but it's Ebo Foods. It's a soft pellet. It's sort of like dot foxing, but it's a small soft pellet, and they really do like those. And I always try to get some to go down to the L333s, and the precogs are good feeders, so there's hardly any ever go down to L333s. That's why I put food for them when the lights go out. So, and they are doing well also. And I think I have 2 boys, so I need to find a girl somewhere so that I can breed L333s as well. And yeah. Or the barbatus, I actually don't have barbatus anymore because I gave my barbatus to someone when I was sort of slowing things down 4 years ago, before COVID, and I haven't got them back since. The lower tanks in my fish room, which, you know, like this low, I keep around 20 and 21 degrees Celsius. And Thomas, can you do that conversion for me? And barbatus used to love that. And I had 2 tanks of adult barbatus that spawned like clockwork every couple of weeks. And then I had like 6-7 tanks of barbatus growing at some period. But it's one of those other fish that I need to get back. It's I don't have a dehumidifier in this fish room. The fish room is currently, this is going to be 69.8 Fahrenheit 2021. So that was the temperature I was breeding my barbatus in. Currently my fish room, I think this is going to be reversed, but it's 68% humidity. There's a lot of humidity in the room, hence these tropical plants grow really well. But I do have a exhaust fan on the ceiling. It's one of those that you have in bathrooms and stuff when you're showering that you would turn on. So when I feel like the room is a little bit too steamy or a bit stuffy, I actually run that, and it sucks the air out of the room, and it's actually a really good way of me cooling down the fish room as well, because just outside the fish room door I have a AC unit, and if I open the door, run that exhaust fan and the AC running there, I can actually suck in that cooler air in and manage the temperature. But I don't really end up having much issues with temperature in this room, because I purpose built this room when we were building the house. So I have a drain in the center. This fish room is under the house roof, so it's not a external structure, it's actually in my house. So actually when I walk out the door, I go into the studio space, and because of that, for a couple of reasons, I didn't want to have a window or a external door, because windows and external doors is where you do have most issues with temperature exchange to control the heat and the cold. The city that I'm in, it gets quite cold, below 0 Celsius in winter and stuff, so it gets fairly cold. I didn't want to manage that, and when you have a warm room and it's below 0 outside, you get a lot of condensation on glass and stuff. So I didn't want to deal with that, and I also wanted to have as much wall as I can, so that I can fit this many fish tanks in. So that's why I don't have the external door or any windows here. I made a mistake when we were building it, and I put a skylight in, one of those tubes, because I thought, with the the daylight and everything, I could use that as a trigger to breed some of my fish. That was the reasoning behind it, because I don't have external windows. But what ended up happening is, because like I said, the city I'm in, the winters are fairly cold. What was happening is, inside that tube, because it's quite high, the roof is basically just at where it peaks, where that tube was. So it's sort of fairly almost like a 2-meter tube almost. And you would have seen it. It's one of those silver things that reflects the light, and then it comes out. And then what it did is, every winter there would be a lot of condensation in there, because the room would be 26, 27 Celsius, and outside would be below 0, and there would be condensation, and the water will start seeping in, and it stuffed up my ceiling a little bit. So I got the skylight removed, but I haven't got the ceiling repaired yet. So I need to find a plasterer that won't mind working in amongst 50 million fish tanks, because I would not like to shut my tanks down, because I want. So I rather have a my house is now just about 11-12 years old now. So so time flies. So I did start getting the racks and stuff when I was in the other house, but I've been in this fish room probably close to 12 years now, which is quite a long time. So anyway, so if you guys ever build a fish room in a colder climate, skylight is not recommended, unless you have one of those where it's like a car roof kind of ones, not the tube ones, because the condensation was really, really bad. The other thing that I've done in the fish room, all my lights are obviously plugged into the power points on the walls, but I have 2 timers. One operates the power points on this side of the room, and the other power plug, the timer works on the power outlets on this side, so the lights come on and off on a timer, and the circuit that my big air pump is on is obviously permanent. So anyway, so from going forward from today, I should upload more videos now that I'm out of my maintenance period. I don't know if I mentioned it by name, but I now have four different species of, not species, four different localities of signifer blue eyes, an Australian native blue eye that can be in freshwater, brackish, or marine. I have four different locations, two locations that grow fairly big and two locations that are the smaller side. So looking forward to that. I will do more close-up videos and things like that, and I got myself another GoPro that I can chuck it in my fish tank to do potentially videos. I don't know if it's going to work, but I got one anyway. Yeah, so there should be some changes in the fish room as I do them. I might sort of do a little video when I'm doing the mat and filters for the new tanks. That's going to be fun because I already have, like always, everything I need I already have. I just need to put it all together. And yeah, that's all for me today, I think. And yeah, so I wish I could convert half a garage, but I think the way I have this set up is working much better for me. So what we have done building this fish room is we made it as concentrated as space as possible. So even in the video, sometimes my fish room looks fairly big, but you know, if you can imagine, this is as wide as it is, but I have tanks 5 high, so 5 rows of tanks. So my tanks are not too deep, they're sort of normal height, and most of my tanks, as you guys know, is smaller, so I can go 5 high because most people have 3 high in their racks in their fish rooms. So in a more concentrated space, basically behind the camera there are tanks, this wall has tanks, this wall has tanks, this wall has tanks, so it's wall to wall tanks. Or just between those two racks there is my door to exit, and just between these two racks here in this corner is my laundry sink with tap and stuff, so I can wash things and stuff in here. There's a drain in the center here when I flood the joint or whatever, because as I'm doing water changes, sometimes I get distracted with eggs and stuff and the water goes everywhere. So that's why there's a drain in the center. And I did get there's a word for it, that floors that they actually pour, and then you can have any different colors you have. One of those, and it has a soft coating so that it is quite comfortable standing in the fish room all day. And it's also made a sort of a slope that the water, whatever water is on the floor, most of it goes down the center drain, which has been a lifesaver because on more than one occasion I left the water running overnight and the water didn't really leave the room, which was good. So yeah, matten is, you know, the way to go. I have sponge filters in all my tanks, and I have actually one big air pump which is a 100-watt one, LP 100. It says it does 140 liters per minute, and that is actually doing currently 139, no, not 139 tanks, it's also doing my shoe boxes. So it's running over 150, 160 filters currently. And the way I did is I did a big loop so that the airflow doesn't hit a T-junction ever. It sort of has a big loop, and then from that loop I run all the air out, and said there are multiple loops on the different level heights as well. Yeah, corner matten would be a good idea, but my tanks are so small, doing a corner would be a bit too much work for what I get out of it. I can do corner ones for my 3 foots at the back. That's an idea, but for all my other tanks, I can actually do the whole back of it because my tanks are all lengthwise in my racks. So if you have a 2-foot tank or bigger, corner ones are actually ideal. So you just put a couple of strips of glass, you silicone them in, and then bend the metal filter, which apparently I don't have them all outside. So it's this stuff. So you actually use that. So I got way too much of this. Like I said, I buy things in bulk because one day I will need it. So this is for those people who don't know what metal filter is. It's basically a foam put in one part of the tank, and then you have a air-driven outlet that sort of gets the water out to this side of the tank, and it pulls the water out from here, obviously. So what happens is you get water getting filtered through all of this surface area, so however big that piece is, and then so it essentially acts as a giant sponge filter in your tank, the metal filter. So they're excellent. All my tanks, I'm thinking about, not all of them, some of them I'm going to convert to these. So I have too many of these now. So I'm definitely going to do the new tanks that have came because they're only 6 inches wide. So cutting this in 6-inch wide bits and jamming that at the back is going to be fairly straightforward. So I chose not to do sumps because where a sump would be in my fish room, I have more tanks. That's where my barbatus is breeding, but also I suppose specialize is a word I can use because I'm mostly interested in killies and corries, and I keep them all in separate tanks. Over the years, I've always been sometimes the person that has the last of that species of killie or something in the country. I really didn't want a common water shared with a bunch of different tanks just in case there's a disease comes in and stuff. I didn't want to lose fish. So because of that, I chose not to have any sumps, but it's purely because of the type of fish I like to keep. And with reference to that, I like to keep all fish, but I need to be able to fit it here. That's one of the reasons why I have never kept African cichlids, because in this space I would have heaps fewer tanks and fewer species of fish in this room. I actually get my African cichlid fix by going to my friends who breed and keep African cichlids and go and watch their tanks and stuff. So I might get shell dwellers at some stage because I never kept or bred them, and they're the sort of size that I can keep them in the size of tanks I have in this room. But that's too many plans. So I need to focus on my Achilles. I need to breed a bunch of my Achilles very soon. I need to restart breeding. I need to get my corries going again. I need to breed a bunch of my Danios because I haven't bred some of them for a little while. I also have all these blue eyes that I need to do a more concerted effort in breeding them. Like I have a bunch of fry of them growing here and there, but I want to like have good 50, 100 for each locality I have, so that I can also share them with people as well. So yeah, so this has kind of been what's happening in the fish room, and very nice of you all to join me live. As always, just randomly I out of the blue started doing a live stream, no heads up to anyone and anything, so I just I'm excited about the new tanks that I received. So the next few days over the weekend, I am going to start installing them in their place, and then we'll start using them to breed new fish. And then, like I was mentioning early on, I need to replace some of my lights that went out with the new LED lights. Again, it's going to be, this is not, I'm not advertising or anything, this is what I have. So what I bought, I like my tanks to be well lit so that it kind of looks like a studio. There's nothing wrong with my mates' fish rooms where you go in and you walk around with a torch to see the fish and stuff. I like to be able to see stuff. The unfortunate thing that happens, I don't know if you can see it from the angle, you probably can. When I go through the maintenance period of my fish room, I obviously don't scrape the front of the glass, and this blue eye tank is the front glass is actually covered in algae. The fish don't mind, they're really happy and healthy. They get their water change and they're feeding, and I can still see them, so I can monitor their health. So, and yeah, so I'm going to be scraping a lot of tanks, and I need to change the blade. This funky thing I just found online, that I need to replace this blade because it's rusted, but I got a ton of blades, so I use that to scrape. So that's going to be exciting. And obviously I also need to restart some of my live cultures, because I have got them going, but like this one is a dry, the biofilm, it works really well, and hence I sort of was able to scoop whole heap of fry from that tank. So this looks like a microworm, but it is vinegar eels. So I started culturing my vinegar eels like microworms. So if I get really close here, can you see it? No, you can't. It's not focusing. Anyway, so that's my just about out. So this is my bread mixture. When it gets this liquid, I start a new one. So when I look on the surface, the whole surface is moving, but the vinegar eels actually stopped climbing the sides. So it's time to start a new one. I do my vinegar eels, my microworms, and I managed to kill my banana worms. Don't have them anymore. And my live black worms just get delivered. I do have some black worms and daphnia growing in some of my medaka ponds outside. Obviously the ponds that don't have the medakas in, the rice fish. So that's been good. And I have one small koi, which is actually getting a little bit too big now. I need to find a new home for it soon. Eventually, I use him to feed all my duckweed. Obviously, I don't feed him enough because duckweed is everywhere again. So I need to start feeding him more duckweed before I give that koi to someone. So koi carp. Yeah, anyway, so this has been a random video from me, Serkan, Kiliokori's Fish Room. I'm always open to questions. I know in the past I promised I'll do a video on this and video on that, and then I haven't done it, so all of those are coming. I basically want to do individual videos of every fish that I breed. My local aquarium society, Canberra District Aquarium Society, have started a new Breeders Award program where you basically breed a fish, you document, from the eggs to the fry, how you're raising it, stuff, and then you do incremental, they're now 3 weeks old, 2 weeks old, 1 month old, 2 months old, and then you take some of the progeny to the society monthly meetings where we have an auction. So and then you can actually auction the fish there, and you get points based on the type of fish you breed, and you document it for that 60-day period, and plus selling it through the auction. I'm a little bit too many balls in the air. I figured I will try to do a record for 60 days. I will forget and whatever, and the fish will be, by the time I know it, 90 days old and whatever. So I decided that will be my prompt to do individual videos for every single fish I breed, and then it will be a record, and you guys will be able to see how I breed fish the way I do, and it might help some people and it might amuse some people, and people might watch and laugh, he's doing it the hard way or whatever. But pretty much any fish that comes into my room comes with the intention of breeding them, and I managed to breed, I don't know, 70 to 80% of them, which is pretty good, I think. And like I said, I don't breed them, I look after them, and they do the breeding themselves. So, but to me, the part of the fish keeping that is most enjoyable is the breeding, because you get to see all of the life cycle, and you'll be able to see the, observe the courtship behavior and everything, and you see the marking changes of the fry as they get to different sizes. You can sort of imagine, these sort of markings will help it hide this way and whatever. So that part I find very interesting. That's why I have so many tanks, so I can keep them all separate and breed things a bit more comfortably. And usually people struggle with breeding fish because they have too many different types of fish in the same tank. So for me, I think the thing that makes it easy for me is almost every fish has their own tank, so they're not mixed with stuff unless I'm raising juveniles together and stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of what's been happening. I just came out of my maintenance period, getting into the active, spending a lot more time in the fish room. 10 new fish tanks are here, which I'm super excited. I'd like to thank again Beyond Aquariums in my local city, who organized the tanks for me, and the other videos are to come soon. And you guys are talking about so much about cories. I now feel like I should get more of them. Actually, it would be interesting. I don't even know how many species I have. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 25, 26, 27, 28. I think I have about 30 species of Corydoradinae. So because Corydoras now is the name that we should be using, but they cories, they could be Broca's species, Gastrodermis, Hoplysoma, but I have 30-ish, at least 30. It could be about 35. I should actually breed most of those before getting new ones, but now I feel like looking at lists to see what new cories got imported recently. So thank you, Thomas. Now that you gave me permission, I will go and get more cories. I mean, that's kind of like the flexibility of having this many tanks as well, because I can actually have in the same tank, like in this tank here, I have in this one actually, I have Ephiosemian ciliae, which is a West African annual killifish, and I have Corydoras fulleri, the long nose cory that was named for Ian Fuller. So I got them in here, And then in this one I have cories down the bottom and killies on top as well. In this tank I have cories down the bottom and tetras on top. In this one I have cories down the bottom. I have two species of cories there. I have Hoplysoma C121, which basically look like Adolphi, but they're thought to be related to Burgessii or Burgessii. They have a little brown plate on the back of their gill, and I also have Brochus secri in with them as well, because they're two different genera. If they spawn, they're not likely to crossbreed. I have also a Brochus and Hoplysoma in this tank as well. I have a Hoplysoma and Aspidoros in this tank. So sometimes I do mix a couple of things in tanks that I don't see breeding behavior. When I see something showing breeding behavior, I take the other species out, usually, if I catch it. Sometimes I just find the eggs and then figure out who spawned. Usually it's Hoplysoma rather than the Brochus ones, because they're a bit trickier to breed. So, I would like to get CW111 or 111 CW111. I had Brochus robinae. They lived beautifully, but they haven't bred for me. So I got Brochus. I can't remember. I forgot to write the thing on there. I took the label off because I thought this label is a bit smudged. I'll do a new label, and now my brain is going. The Brochus that looks like Adolphi and Duplicarius, I have that Brochus there. They spawned, but the eggs were not fertile, so I'm hoping that the next time they spawn, I will get them going. I spawned the Delphax, a Brochus. I bred them. So I need to redo all my labels because now I'm confusing with all the different. Yeah, I really do like lineage 1 species, because I got Fulleri, I got the which one is that, Caramator, they were called, what were they called before? But anyway, I got them as Caramator. I got them and then they got named Caramator. So I got Fulleri, I got Acutus, what else did I do? I used to have Septentrionis, which I bred a lot. I used to have bunch of other ones that I bred a lot, CW127, and I have CW124 in here. Yeah, anyway, too many fish, not enough days in the week to work in the fish room. Yes, so I wish I win the lotto so I can be here most of the time, but there's a slight catch with that because I don't play the lotto. Me winning it is just a slightly lower than people who play lotto, but each to their own. So that's kind of what happens. And yeah, I really wanted to give Robinay a good go, so I actually had a group of 10. So they lived beautifully for a long time, and then they got older, and then something happened with the tank, and then I lost them, which was another happy day. And that's part of fish keeping. Unfortunately, occasionally you do lose fish. I do lose fish so rarely. When I do lose it, it gets very upsetting, annoying, and sad, and whatever. And I especially get upset about fish that I lose if I haven't bred them yet. If I bred them and I lose the parents for whatever stupid thing that whatever reason, usually because of something stupid I've done, I actually go, okay, at least I have the next generation or the generation after that, then I feel okay about it. And that's kind of why sometimes I give species away so I can make room for new ones. And then I get nostalgic, like the barbatus we were talking about. I basically want to get barbatus back because I miss having them in the room, and I really do like cycloramic stacks. You know, the size they are, the marking they are, and the way they swim and behave is quite interesting as well. So I hope that they do import more cycloromystacks into Australia at some stage. And when it does happen, I hear about it so I can buy some. So because I've been in that maintenance period, I haven't even on purpose didn't check any wholesale lists because that's where I buy my fish from. What else has been coming in, and the two or three lots of killies that I got, I wasn't looking at the list. People who know me said, oh, these got imported, you should check them out, and I went and looked and bought them. But yeah, so that's kind of all it. So just checking. Yeah, so thanks heaps for joining me in this impromptu live stream. Again, I'm really looking forward to having the new tanks up and running. I mean, there's no reason why I can't breed cories in those tanks as well. The size they are, the length that they are, depending on how much of the length I use, the method filter. So yeah, thanks heaps for joining me, guys. Really appreciate the comments and everything. It's makes it quite interactive, and me not being around for ages and just randomly doing a live stream, you guys finding me. So thanks heaps, much appreciated. I hope all your fish are healthy and breed, and you get all the fish breeding that you desire and the fish rooms that you like to have. And if you only have one fish tank, it's the best fish tank for you. And if you look at someone like me who has ridiculous amount of fish tanks and go, I wish I had that. Remember, even though I look very young, I'm not that young, so I'm actually a bit further along probably compared to some people's fish keeping. I think in my 36th, 37th year of fish keeping, something like that. Actually, I'm in my 39th year of fish keeping. Yikes. Anyway, so if you have just one or two fish tanks, don't worry. If you enjoy it enough, one day you figure out how to breed your fish tanks as well as your fish, so you get something like this happening. Thanks heaps for joining, and I will catch you guys in the next one, which might be either about setting up a tank from scratch or breeding a specific fish. So thanks heaps for joining. Dennis, Thomas, who else? Everybody, Ben, my Bimsara, everybody, thanks heaps. Have a good day. So I need to now feed some fish and do some water changes. And because I'm doing it from my phone, how do I turn it off? I do this. Have a good day, guys.